You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
All right, I'm here with what do you like to go by, I would say?
Dakota.
So you like to go by Dakota. Is that your birth name?
That is not.
What is your birth name?
My birth name is Christina, but people just call me Tina. They used to.
Now, for the people out there listening, that might sound confusing why I even asked that in the first place. And the reason why was this was an important podcast I wanted to kind of make aware, because it's not only going to educate me in something I'm not very familiar in, but it's what would you call the name for it? It would be gender.
It's gender reassignment or transgender. For me, it's female to male because I was born a female and transitioned into a male. There are others like male to female where they're male and they transition to female.
Yeah. Okay. So, what exactly are this? Hold on. Before we even get into this giant thing, because right now I'm already a little bit baffled. But what do you do as a career, just professionally, I guess, to make you money?
Well, as you can see, I work at the casino.
Casino, Ocean Downs.
Yeah.
You probably know Chris Rourke, someone I've had on the podcast.
Do. Yeah.
What do you do there?
I am a food and beverage manager.
Now, is that something that you're just doing to get money and you have a different passion? Obviously, I know you're into business management and things of that sort, but I know you have a passion for cooking as well. When it came to baking treats, I know you brought, because we had a communication arts class together, which has inspired me to get out there. My stupid improv speeches, every single one about Hot Pockets and stuff like that. But it's cool that so you enjoy baking. I always know the baking process to be kind of tedious, and so many things can go wrong. But I guess that's what makes it fun in a way, that you can kind of add your own sort of creativity to the mix of things.
I consider it like an art because there's some things that I don't usually know how to make, so I just play around with it, and hopefully something good comes out of the oven. But that's why it's art. So you just play around with the ingredients.
I'm a simple microwave type guy. I'm let me throw something in here, a Hot Pocket for a little bit, and then get it a minute later, and then you bite into it and it's super hot, and why don't you just wait for it to cool? I don't have time.
Yeah, nobody got time for that.
But it's I don't know. If I always say I'm gonna sit down and prep a meal and make something like that, but besides making a quick salad or something, or eating celery and just cans of tuna, clean stuff. It's hard to I've always been afraid of the oven. I don't know what it is. I actually don't even know how to use the one at the age of 21. I'm mostly a microwave guy. But it's cool that inspires you baking wise. Is there a certain dish you like to make or anything?
I'm not really into cooking per se. I just like to bake. So I like to make cookies and pies. My favorite is cupcakes. That's why I brought them in.
Yeah. I know I couldn't enjoy any of those cupcakes.
I was thinking about making you some non-GMO ones, but I didn't have time.
That's funny. So what I want to get down to is the gender thing. Circling back to that, it's something that's I don't know too much about when it comes to. I've never really met a transgender person before. I've been to Vegas and seen the transgender. I guess people call them drag queens. I don't know if that's PC or anything, but it was interesting to see because I couldn't tell if they were being ridiculous that was the point, to get attention, or if they were really felt like they were out of place. Because from what I've looked up, there's gender dysmorphia, or gender dysphoric.
There's gender dysphoria, and then there's gender dysmorphia. Gender dysphoria is when you actually know that you were born in the wrong body. You were uncomfortable in your skin. Every time you look in the mirror, you see a whole different person. Gender dysmorphia is where you just feel like you can fluctuate on your gender. So I guess you could say it's gender fluid or non-binary even, but you wouldn't be just one specific sex. You wouldn't just be male or female. It's a little confusing and people tend to mix those two together, but gender dysphoria is an actual mental illness. It can be diagnosed for, which is what I have. And it's hard to live with every day because you can wake up and you feel like you passed, and then you step out in public and someone's like, "Oh, what's up, ma'am?" or "How's it going?" Tina, and then they forget, and you're like, well, damn, I guess I don't pass anymore.
Yeah, it's probably got to be kind of like difficult. Like I know, not I wasn't Facebook stalking you, but I was trying to do like make sure I wasn't going to be improper for how I like pronounce. Because I mean, a lot of people are very inconsiderate when it comes to being transgender in the first place. Now, in my mind, I do believe there are two types of genders. I do believe in that you're either born a male or a female. Now, when it comes down to how you feel down deep inside, I do believe that some people might be born into the wrong skin, per se, I guess, wrong gender. But when it comes to, there are certain things I do find ridiculous about it, and it's not to be, I'm not trying to play like, devil's advocate here, but it's like, when you can, there's people out there that severely have a mental disorder when it comes down to this, and that's because they change themselves multiple times throughout the day, and depending on how they feel. And in a conversation, there's people out there that will flip it 5 or 10 times during a conversation. I don't believe that is right. I believe that if you're born, if you were born a female and want to switch over to a male, then that's fine. That's 100% fine. I don't believe you should just switch right back to female right after you switch to male, like 3 minutes later in a conversation. I believe that's a little bit ridiculous, and it seems like more like there's a deeper rooted problem down into it. Whether you're just confused, because it's very I guess known, like people transition and then they felt like, never mind, I want to go back. It's not, I feel better as, more comfortable, I would say. That has a lot to do with society in a way. Because, I mean, society, we're all constantly judging. Everyone is constantly judging. I mean, you probably get it all the time. Just walking around in public, people either probably don't understand really what it is. I mean, you don't look any different from, I guess, a female that wants to dress like a guy, and it's not bad. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's cool. I mean, you got a different color hair, red hair, and it's like, that's interesting. I see people with different color hair all the time. I don't really look at the person as much as I look at the character that they display. If you're considerate and you understand, people are people, and everyone's got their own little mix, I would say.
I can't speak for every trans because everyone has their own journey and they go through different things. I used to think I was gender neutral at one point, but that was because I was in the closet and there was a lot that I could have lost at one point. So I would just tell my ex at the time, hey, I feel pretty masculine today. If that's okay with you, we'll go with that. I do agree with the whole thing where there are some people that switch constantly. I can't fully wrap my mind around it, because if you were actually struggling with your gender, it would hurt a little bit. I know when I wake up, there's pain. There's something there because my chest is still there. I still have that the feminine look because I'm only a month and a half on testosterone.
It's hard because you look in the mirror and you see parts that, in a way, people explain that God gave you, and if you're religious, and it's like, you don't want those on there. You don't believe that those are your thing, because deep down in your mind, you see something completely different. It's a lot of things too. Since being a workout guy, I know a lot of people with body dysmorphia and that type of look, and people don't understand when they look in the mirror and they see someone that's bigger than they actually are, and they don't understand the ramifications of that. And it's the same thing when you're dealing with gender dysmorphia. In a way, you're looking at what you see is different from how you feel, basically, in a way. And it really blows my mind, because a lot of people are so inconsiderate when it comes down to things like that. And I do believe that even the people that are victims, in a way, that feel like they're in a wrong state of being, I guess you would say, wrong gender, wrong skin type, they do, some of them do go out of the blue just to, make a giant outcry about it, for attention, it seems like. Now, gender dysmorphia, or gender whatever, however you feel, whatever you want to call it, is a mental disorder. ADHD is a mental disorder as well. I don't think of ADHD as that serious of a mental disorder. It's something I have. I mean, it definitely complicates things when it gets learning, but I get a lot of shit done. Like,
Yeah,
I can
do.
do multiple things at once. I mean, you know, from my improv speeches, that's all like those 5 to 10 minute speeches. I was just pulling those out of the back of my head, and that's because I'm good at rambling and just able to talk, I guess.
Yeah, and it seemed like you were doing fine, so wouldn't
Exactly.
be able to tell.
But it's like, when it comes down to gender dysmorphia or something like that, I see as a major actual mental illness in a way. Mostly because it has got to be I don't look at it like this person's insane. I look at it like this person's got pain. It's got to hurt. Like, you know, some people that feel stuck in this way and are afraid to, you know, come out and voice their, you know, their feelings about it. It's like depression. Like, it's there. Whether you want to believe in it or not, there's something going on that it's stopping this person. It's hurting them every single day. It's hard for them sometimes to get out of bed and take the step out into the world feeling that they were given the wrong hand of the cards. And it's, like, I study a little bit of psychology. It's something I'm getting interested in. And when I was looking, we had to do a program of DSM criteria for understanding and diagnosing gender dysmorphia. Mm-hmm. And they say it starts around the age of 2 to 4 years. You start to see signs in a child that is, you know, it's really hard for anybody to understand what a person's going through unless they're going through it themselves. And nobody's situation is exactly the same, which is what I want to make very clear on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to, like, diagnosing ADHD in a way, it's hard to tell if the kid's just being a kid or if the kid's got an actual disorder. Same thing with depression. Is it hard to understand if a kid has depression or is it just their hormones fluctuating? Mm-hmm. From a teenager that goes from, you know, super, super angry to super, super horny to super, super, like, you know, just constantly hormones fluctuating in their body, not understanding anything, feeling out of place, growing hair places they don't know. And it's like, it's hard to understand whether they're dealing with something that's like a behavioral thing, like diagnosing a kid with that and medicating them. I don't believe anybody should really have a clear definition on diagnosing somebody with any type of mental disorder or clarifying it in that way until the age of 20 or something, when their brain is still kind of, it's towards the end of their processing stages. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to gender dysmorphia, when did that start for you? I would say, or being transgender. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. If I'm getting it wrong, please tell me. Hey, Robbie, look, let me tell you something.
Yeah, I don't fully remember when I was like 5 or 6, those kind of years. My mom used to point out these weird things where she put me in a dress, and I would run around and take them off. But at that time, she thought I was just being a tiny little kid, just throwing off their clothes in the house.
I've walked around naked multiple. I still do it at the age of 20. Yeah. People don't know, but I do.
So I mean, who cares? It's your house, right? Yeah. But I started noticing changes when I was starting puberty as a female. So that was 12, 13 for me. I had really long hair down to my butt at one point. It was blonde. And I would have picture day. My mom would want to dress me up in a nice, cute little skirt and blouse, and I would throw a fit. I would tell my mom that I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to school today. I'm sorry. I just don't feel that great. In the mirror, I thought that maybe I just didn't look good. Like, to me, I wasn't attractive. Like, there was nothing about me that I was going to like in the photo. So I was confusing that with just hating the way I looked. Because that all mixes in. Like, you can't really tell, are you just suffering because you think you're ugly, or are you suffering because there's something actually really there? And it didn't really come to me until I got introduced to the internet. So it was like, I was like 15, 16. I started really looking stuff up because no one around me talked about it.
We've all used Google for things, for sure. Yeah. I definitely looked up, like, you know, I got a headache or something, and next thing I know, I'm on WebMD telling me I got, like, cancer or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's powerful in a way because the internet helps in so many things, and especially being able to educate you on something you knew nothing about. It probably was very hard for you to look at photos of yourself now, even looking back then. and seeing yourself displayed in such a way where you're like, that's not me, that's not the real image. I know it's hard for me because I used to be super, super overweight, and I'm always afraid of kind of going back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I look at old photos of me and I hate them. I want them all to be burned, you know what I mean? Because it just displays something that I was, it was very crucial in my development, and I got made fun of pretty heavily for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure you probably got made fun of too, for depending on ways on how you've dressed and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard for your family to understand what's going on, or have they been very supportive about it?
I am very lucky that my parents have been super supportive. There are a lot of people from the groups that I follow that don't have supportive parents or siblings, or someone in their family member is always poking at them. But my mom just wants me to be happy, and that's all she's ever wanted. So it only took her a couple weeks for her to really understand. My dad is a little older, so it did take him longer, but he never put me down or anything for it. And my sister, who I still live with, she's like my biggest fan. She's like, I've always known I've had a brother. So for everyone in my family that I physically live with right now, they're super supportive. My mom actually went with me to my first appointment to get testosterone, and we were talking to the actual doctor in person, and my mom's like almost in tears, and I'm almost in tears because the doctor said I could start that day, and it was great. So I can't...
Have you noticed any changes with taking testosterone? You said it's been over a month now. So I mean,
yeah.
you've had to kind of experience certain things. Is there anything that's really popped out at you that you've noticed differently?
Yeah, my voice has dropped a little bit. Like, I feel I have to talk louder now in order to get my sound across.
Yeah.
That my voice probably won't stop changing for maybe a couple years. So gradually throughout that whole time, it'll just keep dropping. My body odors have changed, I've noticed. I'm thirsty.
You stink more?
Yeah, I do stink more.
Old Spice,
thirsty.
try it. It's pretty handy.
I'm using that now. I like
what kind?
The volcano one.
Amber?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like Citron, or I use the animal ones for some reason. I'm always I'm fascinated with I had this one spiritual woman on, her name's Cheryl, but she talked about spirit animals. I was getting so interested in that. People didn't even understand. I was like, dude, I feel like a sloth on the inside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
It's your spirit animal.
Yeah, right? And I don't know. It's all right. So go back to what you said. I didn't mean to ramble off on that, but you're getting kind of starting to stink a little bit. I mean, not in a bad, but
kind of
trust me, I'm a
way.
guy. I know how it is. And are you growing hair in random spots that usually you wouldn't normally grow hair in?
Not yet. Everybody's different. I want to have some kind of facial hair grow in, or maybe a little bit on my chest, but nothing's shown yet. It just depends on your genes. For my dad, he only has very little patchy hair, so mine might turn into that. I don't know.
Oh, I know. I got this little chin stubble right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's you won't get a full-on goatee. I've known my dad to always have a goatee. It was weird not seeing him have one. And he was like, yeah, you're not going to get that until you're 25. I'm like, what? So I got this little thing to make sure I can literally probably walk into a high school and still pass as a high school student.
That baby face.
I still got the baby face, yeah. That's why I only keep this little thing. But when you were saying about, you said something before BO where you said,
my voice.
Your voice. I actually noticed that.
You noticed that?
I've noticed from when we were in class together. Yes. From the very few, you didn't really talk a whole lot, but when you did, I can notice there's a subtle difference. I didn't know if you just had a raspy type voice from being sick because the weather's been crap. Because I know that's how mine is right now. I'm a little bit congested up, so that can display something. But that brings me to the question, could you use that if you were trying to change your voice in a way of distinguishing it to a certain frequency for singing or something like that? Do you think there would be musical capabilities in taking a type of hormone that could change it? If I wanted to sing like Michael Jackson, I start taking female hormones. My brain just kind of thinks to that in a way. I know I'm random. That's how the podcast goes, but
yeah,
it's crazy to think about. If someone could just be slowly changing their voice so they can hit Michael Jackson's "Beat It" or Thriller in a way. I don't know.
Well, the bad thing about taking estrogen, female hormones, is that it doesn't really change your voice, and that's hard for the male to females transgenders, because if they've already gone through the male puberty and they didn't take hormone blockers before then, their voice is already dropped, and that's permanent. They can take vocal exercises to try and lift their frequency, their pitch, but the estrogen, all that does is really just redistribute the fat in your body, and it makes them smell a little differently. It can make their skin oily, I guess. I don't really know much about that because I haven't looked into male to female, but it doesn't really affect their voice unless they've taken hormone blockers before that, because they always have that Adam's apple there, so it's kind of permanent unless they have some kind of, I guess you could say, physical surgery done to prevent that.
You know, that's like a very distinctive characteristic that guys have besides having a dick, basically, is an Adam's apple. I don't notice it a whole lot. Like, there's some guys I've seen, I don't notice the Adam's apple.
I don't either. It's like, I'm looking at your face, I'm not really looking at your
It's not very a protruding Adam's apple. Like, we all know the people that remind us of, like, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo that have that protruding thing, looks like they swallowed an apple or it's, like, stuck in their throat or something.
Yeah.
But then there's some people that don't have a very distinctive one. See, that's why it was always like, you know, a lot of people look at like a girl and be like, oh, that's a guy because you can tell it has an Adam's apple. I'm like, I don't never look at a person's Adam's apple. I look at, like, you know, how they act or something, or look at the way they kind of dress. I think that's the main thing. Like, if you're transitioning or something, you can't say you're a guy and still dress like a girl, I guess you would say. I mean, if you're a girl still dressing like a girl, but you go as a guy, how is it going to be easy for people to understand, you know, be able to distinguish you? You can't really get upset if they misgender you, I would say. A lot of people feel like that's not who I am, and, you know, they get very sensitive about the subject. It's something to get sensitive about, you know. You don't, it's hard to correct everyone all the time, you know. This is what I am, I'm not this, you know. And I've known you as Dakota, so I don't know you as this other person, which is in my benefit to be able to correctly, you know, say, you know, address you in ways. And when you're dealing with taking this testosterone, you're seeing these changes, and you're noticing your voice is kind of changing, which is something you're going to realize. It's the same thing when you work out. When you work out for the first 2 weeks, there's not going to be a whole lot of change, but there's going to be notice over the months that you're going to see slight differences. In 3 months, you're going to notice changes. In 6 months, someone else is going to, your family's going to notice changes. And then around, you know, 9 months is when people around you are going to start seeing the giant, you know, increase in whatever you were working out or whatever you've been seeing. It's mostly because of how much they see you. You know, it's going to be more drastic for them, but someone that sees you every single day, you're going to notice the slight differences and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
But is there a certain point down the road where you're going to get a male part in a way? Do you want to have a penis, I would say?
I definitely 100% want top surgery, which is going to be
just taking out the boobs.
Yeah, taking out the boobs, you know, just getting rid of those.
Yeah.
But as far as the bottom area, I didn't really have much dysphoria with that. For trans men, you can get packers, which is, it's like a fake penis that you can put in your underwear to give the illusion of a bulge. And it helps them feel more masculine. I do have one of those. I don't wear it all the time. But
can you put water in it?
No.
Like pee, you know?
No, it's like a rubber phallus material, so it's just rubber.
A fake dick.
Yeah, fake dick. It's kind of like a dildo.
There's probably guys out there that are guys that still want to do fake dick to make it bigger.
Yeah. The whole surgery on the bottom area, it's still risky, but you can't really have sexual intercourse with it if it goes wrong. You can still pee with it, obviously, but there isn't much use to it, so I'm not really 100% convinced that I want to go that way. I want to see if technology gets a little bit more advanced.
If it does advance in a way, would you go for it?
Yeah, I'd probably go for it.
Getting just to make it a little bit like easier, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Make it more distinctive as like I am a guy, I have a dick, you know, that type of thing. I don't mind, but a lot of people get they criticize Caitlyn Jenner or whatever because she never went to the farm and got her, you know what, snipped off. It was like, yeah, but, you know, she's dealing with a lot of stuff now, a lot of blowback, how she wants to go back to Bruce, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And she went through a lot. Like, she went through shaving her face, you know, her jaw, her feet, like doing all this stuff, major reconstructive surgery. And then now there's articles about her crying and freaking out because she feels out of place in a way. I believe that she might have felt like she should have been female, but I feel like she's originally a male. She feels deep down, she actually wants to be a male still. I believe that it was just so, like, it was so quick in a way. She was like, I have the money, I'm going to spend all this money on surgery. She didn't give time to think it over, I feel like. And she rushed into turning into a female, and now she wants to transition back because she feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She's still attracted to females, you know, stuff like that. And that's not saying that if you or switch over that you can't, you know, be attracted to the same sex, or, you know, the straight way, I guess you would say. That's a wrong way of really putting it. But, you know, it's crazy because a lot of people criticize her because when she was bruised, she killed somebody. She hit somebody with her Hummer, and pushed them into traffic, and they hit another vehicle. And it was like, they felt like that she was taking the surgery to escape from the person, because now she's like, you know, you can't criticize me about killing somebody because that was Bruce, that was not me, that I'm Caitlin. You know, that's a wrong way of doing it. You're still the same person. You can change your name all you want. I can legally change my name to, you know, Beavis or something like that, but it's like, I'm still me in a way. And it's the same way you got to look at changing your gender. You're still the same person. You still have the same passions, same inspiration, same creativity, same thing. You know, if I knew you from before you were transitioning, then I still know you now. I'm not going to look at you any different. Yeah, you're going to dress differently. That's obviously going to be noticeable. And I'm definitely going to, you know, crack jokes on you about it. Like, oh, you know, like do something stupid. But it's like, it's like, oh, you're wearing the same shirt I wear. You know, like something like that. Like it's stupid stuff like that. But it's fun. It's banter in a way.
Yeah.
I don't believe you should take it down to the extreme of like, you know, there's something mentally wrong with you. You know, taking it like, it's like, really? It's like, they're the same person. It's the same person you're friends with. If my friend turned gay, if my friend, you know, came out and wanted to be a different skin color, wanted to do something else, I wouldn't see him as any different. I'm still going to make fun of them the exact same way. Like, I don't look at that. It's like, you know, I was friends with you before. You were always like that. It wasn't like it was some random thing that happened, like you saw something on TV. Like, that's, you know, when you see a commercial for a Sham Wow or something, you're like, I need to get that. Like, that's not how transgender works.
No. That's why I think it's very important to, if you're experiencing some kind of gender problem, get some help for it first. Get educated.
Definitely do your research.
Yeah, talk to somebody, because it might just be where you are going through problems and you want some kind of change in your life. But there are people like me who actually do have gender dysphoria and want to feel better about themselves because it's always been there. It took a long time for me to start testosterone. Like, I could have started it when I was 18 if I wanted to, but I took many years after that to really...
You wanted to make sure that's what you wanted.
I wanted to make sure that this is who I really was. Am I comfortable this way? Is this how I want people to perceive me? Do I want to go through all the trouble of changing? So, it took a lot of time. You
want to make sure it was instinct, not impulse.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, I've been on Amazon before, and, you know, I've said it multiple times. Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not ordering anything that you actually really need. You need to sit on it for a little bit. And it takes me weeks to kind of sit on a purchase, you know, in my mind before I actually go out and purchase it. Deciding if, you know, do I need this right now? Do I need this later? You know, when it comes to, like, putting a battery or buying batteries at a store for something I need, like my podcast recorder, that's a necessity because that's something I do, and I do like to enjoy and have these podcasts and make sure that, you know, the battery's full. We're not going to die in the middle of a conversation. And it's already happened to me once. I was using the crappy dollar store brand batteries, and like, I think like an hour into the conversation, the thing died, and we were talking and didn't even know. Then he looks down, I think it was like 10, 15 minutes later, and he's like, dude, it's not recording anymore. I'm like, what? And I had to go run and get the batteries. Like, it's crazy because we can go in this podcast form into so many different things, whether we're focusing on, you, or you're asking me things, or it's like where it's banter, it's talking, it's getting to know you as a person, having a conversation. Every single conversation that you have every single day with somebody is different. You can talk about the same subjects, but you're always going to have new thoughts, new emotions, new things, and you're going to be like, damn, why didn't I have that recorded? It's a lot of times when I say something smart and it's like, holy crap, someone's like, wow, you just really dropped some wisdom. I'm like, were we recording that? Because I need to save that somewhere, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, people use that reference when it comes to somebody saying something, and then later be like, remember when you said that? I never said that. I wish I had my phone out recording that you said that because you did say it, That type of thing. And it's interesting because, like, I never really got the chance to understand and talk to you. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. During the speech class, I've wanted to ask you, like, I've had this thought of podcasting for a long time. Mostly when communication arts started, about the first month in. So through that whole semester, I was like, I wanted to get you on my podcast. I was literally thinking that the whole time. And it took so long for me to muster up the courage to even ask you, because I didn't know how sensitive you were going to be about the whole subject. But after doing my own little research, not stalking in a way, but checking out your Facebook and seeing how productive you were into the LGBT community, lesbian, bi, gay, transgender community?
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans. And then, of course, it kind of goes on. There's more letters.
QT, ST, SCW,
yeah.
But there's definitely some like research you got to do on that one. But when it comes down to asking you and understanding that how influenced you were and how open you kind of were about it, like you weren't hidden in a way, which is a lot of what people struggle with when they deal with this. They feel hidden. They feel like they're wearing a mask constantly 24/7. It's like depression when they talk about it's like a shadow or a person hovering over you, feeding thoughts into your head. You're constantly dealing with that.
I know how hard it is to feel like that there isn't anyone there to talk to or is relayed in the same way. So that's why I'm so open about it. Like, there are days when I just want to crawl in a bed and don't be alive, but I want to be that supportive outline for people. I want to show that, hey, be open about it, because the more that you are open about it, the better that the world is going to understand. If you keep hiding and behind the fears, because I get it, it's there, but you want people to understand you. You want to get out there and feel comfortable. So if I'm that kind of person for somebody, like, hey, that person's standing up for themselves, maybe I should try too. You do feel so much more confident. It's like a relief knowing that, hey, I got my point across. This person actually understands me now. Maybe I can feel better. So
well, you're basically being a role model for somebody. It's same thing that it gives your parents something to look at. Like when you're a little kid and you're looking at them, like you want to be just like your dad, you want to be just like your mom, you want to be, for you probably you wanted to be just like your dad in a way because it's a little bit more masculine. But when it I looked at my dad like a superhero and stuff like that, and it's like that's what I wanted to be. Probably him knowing that and me drawing pictures in like kindergarten of my dad wearing a cape and like saving the world and stuff like that probably made him feel amazing. Like he was a role model for someone. He knew that like if he came home angry throwing stuff around, it's going to reflect onto the kid, and the kid's going to do those same actions trying to repeat what his dad does. And it's crazy because when you set an example like that, you go out into public and you're open about everything. You're like, this is who I am. You don't like it. It's the same person I ran into at Walmart that dresses in all pink and everyone calls him Pinky. And he dresses like that. That's his thing. Now, whether he's doing that for attention or not, he's doing it and he's expressing himself and not giving a fuck. Who cares about how they look? And I've talked about this multiple times. We all care what someone thinks about us. Every single one of us, whether we believe it or not, we all give a shit.
We've all gone through it.
From putting on a certain style of clothing, thinking that someone's going to judge you for the clothes you wear. We do that though. Yeah. We do judge constantly, whether we want to admit it or not. We're constantly judging others. We're constantly judging ourselves. And it's something that we have to all experience in life, and it sucks because it tolls on a lot of people every single day, especially someone that feels like they were placed in the wrong skin. And You know, it's difficult because it's so hard. It's so easy to say, like, reject those notions, reject that, you know. Who gives a shit what people think? But to actually do it, I see that as 100% more, that's iconic to me in a way. Someone that can go out into public and not give a shit, like, hell yeah. Like, you know, I care a lot about how I look, how I dress and stuff, and that's something common, but that doesn't make, you know, it's not easy for me to be able to ready to go out of the house and the next thing you know turn around and be like, oh, I need to wear this or something in case someone sees me out in public. Like, there's a lot of people like, I won't go to the store because I look a certain way. Why do you give a shit?
Yeah,
and they're like, I don't know, I just don't want to run into someone I know. Who gives a shit? Like, everyone's got those days. They got sweatpants on, a crappy old shirt. They got mustard stains or ketchup stains or whatever the hell you were eating on it. Like, we all have those days. But just because you're in the comfortability of your own home, it's like, your home is your, like, it feels like it releases all that stress. And that's probably where you've probably felt the most, you know, comfortable your whole life. I mean, we all feel comfortable in our home. But the fact that before you were even, like, you were afraid to come out to anybody about this. You probably felt like just locking yourself in your room and being secluded from everybody was the place to go. Somewhere where you can actually be open and free.
And I did a lot. I really did lock myself in my room a lot. Like, there were times when I didn't want to talk to anyone in my house or any of my friends. And
ignoring phone calls.
They
and
would
stuff.
never understand why, and I've lost people for that. And now that I'm trying to, like, be who I want to be, I'm trying to talk to those people again and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I was going through a lot, but this is who I am now. If you want to still talk to me, that's great. If not, I'm sorry, but I had to go through some changes, just probably as much as you did. Like, I'm sure they've had their off days, but I leave them be. It's very toxic to just want someone to always be there. You have to give them their space, too, so.
And it's hard to tell if somebody's dealing with something or they just want their space, you know what I mean? Because if they're in their house for months and months and months and, like, not talking to you anymore and just rejecting things, there might be actually something wrong. They might be severely depressed in a way where they feel like they go to work, you know, come home. I've had those points before where I've, you know, felt like my life was gym, work, you know, go home, you know, eat, go to sleep, you know, that type of thing, school, all that. Like, there's no friendship anymore. There's no going out. It's not saying I don't like to go out, but, like, once you get comfortable and you get home after being out or something, you don't want to really do anything a lot of the times. And it's hard to muster up the thing to get back out there. But once then you do go out there, you're like, why did I want to stay in the first place? You totally reject the notion of being in that kind of cradle in a way. And when you're dealing with not feeling comfortable in how you look and stuff like that, and you're trying to really just shut the door, lock the door, you know, turn music on, whatever you got to do to drown out, like, background noise or something like that so people don't hear you in your room, or, you know, did you ever just come home and cry, like, just not understand, like, anything like that? Like, you had to lay in bed and just want this wish that you could do that. I remember I've had that happen before where, you know, I wish I could be a certain way. I wish I could look a certain way when I was getting picked on really bad. And it was something where I would run home, shut the door, lock it, and then just crawl into bed and just dream and wish that, you know, I wasn't the way I was. I wish I could eat anything I wanted and be able to be as thin and have a six-pack and look like these models on television, and something that, you know, seeing society, how we have our notions of how people have to look, how people, like, what's perfect in society's eyes. You know, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. I can say that all day, and just because I'm saying it now doesn't mean I believe it 100%.
What's really impressive, I didn't know you before when you were, like, heavyset, but the pictures that you put on Facebook, you, like, I wouldn't believe that you were, you know, pudgier before now, because you definitely don't look like it. You are, like, 100% goals, dude, when it comes to, like your chest.
The six-pack.
Like, good lord. Like, you look great.
I appreciate that. I really do. That really gives me a boost of courage. But I have to admit, like today and yesterday, I'm experiencing a very heavy amount of tolling in a way. I might not look like I'm showing it right now, but in my head, all I'm thinking about is, am I going to the gym tonight? Which I know I'm going to, but it's really hard because I'm having it's been going on 6 years now, and it's like every single day for 2 to 3 hours a day, and it's like yesterday and the day before, it was like my workouts were really, really crappy where I didn't feel like I could do it. And I'm like, it's getting to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do this every day anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not that it feels like it's more of a goal. I've always been the type that's been against the notion of authority. Mm-hmm. I've always, if someone tells me to do something, I'm not going to do it. You have to ask me, you have to respect me in a way. Doesn't matter if you're my parents, doesn't matter if you're God, doesn't matter who you are. You need to talk to me like I'm an equal. I need to feel the equality out of it, which is something you can probably relate to when it feels, you want to be treated equal. And it's difficult because I've done it for so long. I've gone every day, and it feels like it's a part of me. It needs to happen. If I don't do it, then there's something wrong. I'm going to, reflect back into my old looks and things, which is not true. And it's hard because I want to incorporate, more foods in a way. I want to be able to, like I was looking at the store today, Halo Top ice cream. It's a healthy ice cream. I want to be able to enjoy that. But looking at calories is like, that's my demon. That's something it's really hard for me, and it's getting harder. I haven't eaten out in years. I haven't taken a vacation since before the gym. I have not missed my, schedule, and it's something, like I said, I'm dealing with today where I'm starting to kind of show it now, but it's tolling on me. It's ripping me apart. I'm getting severely depressed. It was actually like 10 minutes before you came in that I was going to message you, like, I can't do it today. Like, it was just like, my mind wasn't set for it. But I was like, no, I need to find this passion, whether it's making myself busy to where I don't have to focus. But, we've all experienced where we just eat, sleep, and then feel like we need to go to the gym. And it's like, it's something I'm experiencing today. I haven't really done a whole lot, mostly because it's a crappy day out. But it's a toll, and it's definitely putting a burden on me. Yeah. And it's like, you can relate to that. I don't want to relate it to your experience of anything, but you can set that in a way where you feel like that's what depression is, and that's also what being felt like. You're set in a certain slump, like you're set in a certain thing where nothing's going to change. You're looking for a new outlet, like how you were saying. You want to make sure you have your research in before you do this transitioning and stuff. You had to go through so much, and you still go through it every single day. And just because you're getting hormones now and changing the way you look or something like that, it's not changing the deep down pain. You still have those days too. And, I appreciate you giving me the compliments on the six-pack and all that. Oh. I do, but, it's funny, all those pictures that were put up, those aren't stuff I put up, except the newer pictures of the ones I actually look better. And those are all photos I was tagged in. I cannot get them off Facebook. I've tried so long. And everyone looks at my profile, and I just started getting into Facebook. I always had a profile just to add people from school. And it was like, so every photo I had was like old, like you'll see a bunch of old photos, like maybe 5 or 10 old ones, and then you'll see a bunch of newer ones, and then a bunch of posts recently. It's like, that's me now when I'm getting into Facebook with podcasting. It's kind of something I have to kind of get into so I can spread out the message of what I'm trying to do with these recordings. And it's just crazy because I probably related to you in a big way here just by explaining myself there. You probably have felt the exact same things. Well,
I want you to know your feelings are very valid, and you don't have to go to the gym every day, because I don't, and I probably should. And where you're at now, I think you're going to be just fine, because you've gotten this far already, and you have that sense of control. Now it's just finding the control to control.
The control.
Yeah.
And isn't that a motherfucker right there?
That's a motherfucker, yeah. But that's where I'm at right now, too. So if I can do it, you can do it.
And same shoes, different scenario.
Same shoes, different scenario. So I think you got this, dude. So you're there. Just keep going forward and tell yourself that you're going to do it. You're going to be fine.
I definitely think invoking a little bit more positive things in my life is something. I always feel great after I film a podcast, record a podcast, because I have such a crazy conversation. I feel like that's what I needed, because you're in your house, weather shit. It's like it's hard to really kind of look for the light in a way, I guess you would say.
And it's gloomy today, so that doesn't help. So
exactly. You kind of got to stare at the lamp for 35 minutes or something.
Your thumbs,
so you start seeing spots. And it's crazy because I give you so much credit and so much heart in general when it comes to dealing with this type of stuff, because a lot of people take it to ridiculous notions, whether it's on both sides of the spectrum, whether you're dealing with someone that feels like they were out of place and they just want to kind of seem like they're seeking attention with how they dress or something like that. Like that, you can tell when someone's going too far. Probably being someone that's actually, uncomfortable in their skin, you can probably sense bullshit when it comes to somebody else dealing with something like this.
Yeah.
You can sense when it's like, all right, look, now you're just doing that for attention,
Yeah.
like in a way.
I kind of don't want people to know that I'm trans. Like, I want to get to that point where they think I was born a male.
You fool be.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that because I had no idea really what... I mean, I'm pretty good at understanding and, that type of thing, but, I didn't know your name was Tina or all that. I thought it was Dakota, and I just thought, hey, she dresses like a guy because, this... I didn't know if you're a lesbian or something like that, because that's common with lesbians. You see them some of them dress as guys. They feel like that. There's always the male and the female in the relationship, whether it's two women or not.
Yeah.
My, I don't mean to keep calling her out, but my grandmom's lesbian, and, I didn't know that until recently. And it's like for my whole childhood, she was like that. I just thought she had roommates. Mm-hmm. I could never tell because she still dressed like a woman. And then I didn't notice that her friends were the ones that were wearing the pants and, doing the stuff like that. I just thought, hey, that's how they dress because, they're gay, not my grandma. I could never think of my grandma in that type of way. And it didn't matter to me if she was. When I finally found out, I was like, it wasn't even a big thing. My dad was like, you didn't know? I was like, no, I didn't know. Like, what the hell? Like, I was a kid. I looked at her as my grandma. I didn't even think twice about it. And the thought, I don't care about what she is, what her demeanor is. I care about her. Mm-hmm. She's always been nice to me. She's bought me things. That doesn't make a good grandma, but that makes a damn good one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something I care about. Family's family, whether you're bloody or not. It's how you get treated. She's always treated me with respect, always treated me kindly. Snapped me when I needed it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's something like you have to understand when you're dealing with somebody that is, it feels like they're in the wrong place, and you can't tell whether you want to call them or not. There shouldn't be a stigma on whether you feel like I can't. How do I identify this person? How do I like I'm going to come out and say it, not to be rude, but I'm going to ask. Are you male, female? How do I address you? How do I correctly do this? It's the same thing when I deal with foreign people. When they have their name. What's your real name? Not the name that we've given you so you can function in this country, basically. Like, all my foreign friends that come down from Russia and all their stuff, all their names like 30 letters long and stuff like that. Like, what do you like to be called? What do they call you back home? My buddy's name is Dragos. Call him Dragos. But down here is like Drake or something. Like, why are we giving you a false name? Your name is your name. My name's Robert, but I like to be called Robbie. Don't call me Robert. The only time anybody calls me Robert is when you're being, when I'm being addressed when I enter a class for the first time, or when someone's yelling at me. Mm-hmm. No one ever says that anymore. Yeah. When someone says Robbie or something like that, it makes me think of my mom or my dad, and the back of my hairs on my neck stand up, because the only time anybody's ever saying my actual name is when I'm being yelled at. Mm-hmm. But when I'm normally being talked to, it's like, hey, how you doing, or something like that. We don't use names a whole lot. But if you have something you want to be called, do you find that rude that someone would ask you that?
No, honestly, I haven't really met people that take the time, and because if they're unsure, be like, hey, are you a male or female, like that they ask. But usually if no one really knows who I am, I just say my name's Dakota. But if they have known me as another person,
that's why I asked.
They will ask.
I wanted to know. I wanted to be able to address you. It's not just because we're having a conversation. I didn't interrupt you.
No, it's okay. No, I want people to ask because you're being respectful. You're thinking about what makes that person comfortable. If you're unsure, and right now I'm sure people really are with me, I want you to ask, hey, do you prefer male pronouns? Do you prefer female pronouns? And I want to give them an actual answer, and hopefully they'll respect that. So that's a start to a different change in society if people just feel comfortable with asking. And then the people that are receiving need to feel comfortable with being asked. I haven't really met any trans that isn't comfortable with that.
It's not common in this area, I would say. I think
not
gays
common.
being a little bit more common than it was before in a way. I did a podcast with my buddy who was always gay, and I could tell with him. I knew at a young age. I always called him gay. I said, "You're gay, dude. You're gay. You're gay." Not to be mean, but I just knew it. I could just tell. There's certain signs, the way he was acting, certain things that stuck out to me that strike me as that. And then he's a good dude, and I asked him about his animal spirit. He said he felt like he was related to a snake because he felt out of place. Like people misjudge him, and it's something that's hard when you're dealing with something as serious as changing your appearance because you feel like you were given the wrong cards in the first place. You probably feel like people look at you in a certain way, like what's wrong with them, and you probably get that voice in the back of your head when you're going to the store. People are like, what's wrong with her? Always constantly, even though they might not be thinking that. It's something that society has imprinted onto us in a way where we all focus on looks, like what I'm saying. It's, when I go out in the public, I see people like look at me like, why is he wearing that shirt? Why is he wearing that? Why is he, it's hard to not give a shit, you know what I mean? And then you feel like if you catch somebody looking at you or something, you think they're staring at you the whole time, and then you have that back of the head notion type deal where you're like, are they looking at me? Are they looking at me? It's really hard to get into that mindset of not giving a shit. Unless you haven't slept for like a week and then you're like, fuck it, like I'm too tired to understand.
Well, for me it's kind of funny because if I'm passing really well and my voice still gives me away, but someone comes up to the register and they want to pay for their food, and I'm like, all right, this is like blah blah blah, $10.95 or something, and then the person looks at me like they give me that look like, what are you? Like, you look like really masculine, but you have this super feminine high voice. Like, what's going? Like, just confusing them is kind of funny just to watch sometimes because you can see it on their face that the.
If you're giving me food, I'm not asking anything until after I've eaten, because I'm usually so, like, I have meal times prepped and stuff. Like, I have, like, I need this certain time to get this into my stomach or something, so I'm like, I don't have time to ask questions. I don't have time to go against that notion. I'm like, I need to eat it at this time, and then when I get done, I'll ask whatever I need to do. Yeah. It's like, basically, stay out of my way for the 5 minutes I'm in the kitchen, and then go. But, I mean, that's funny how you look at it like that, because that makes it's got to be difficult dealing with that at your job, being a food and beverage person, having to be communicated in, I guess, being very open to the world, dealing with public in a way. That's got to be hard for someone that's dealing with transgender and having these feelings. How do you even manage that?
The hardest part is because I've been there for about a couple years now. Everyone has known me as Tina. And as feminine pronouns, so people still occasionally trip up. Not really on the name. Like, surprisingly, people picked up on Dakota really quick. But being used with feminine pronouns constantly, that still happens a lot. And I just take the time out of the conversation to be like, hey, just remember male pronouns, and they're cool. Everyone's cool about it. Like, they get it. They're human. They're going to make mistakes. And I just quietly correct them. I have to watch what I say anyways because I'm the manager. As for like having my name legally changed there, I can do that, but I can't sign with Dakota. I have to sign as my birth name because it's the casino. It's run by lottery, state lottery, so there's certain things I still can't do with signing my name a certain way or being addressed to someone. I can ask if they call me Dakota, but I can't force them to do that. So I thought that was a little weird, but it is the casino, so they do their things a little differently.
Is there certain things you don't like about the community, the LGBT community, QT?
I don't like it when people try to force things down someone's throat. If they don't understand, you need to give them time, because everyone's different, and they've been raised a certain way, or maybe they've known you a certain way. You have to be patient, and there are some people that aren't. And I get that you're angry, and I get that it's hard and it's rough, but you've got to find some kind of patience in yourself as well, and for everyone else around you. This person has known you as, let's say, Lindsay all your life, or Michael, and now you're someone else, so you got to give it time.
You got to give time for adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes for being gay and bisexual too. That person thought you were straight maybe that entire time, so now they're trying to wrap their head around it.
Yeah, I didn't know you you secretly like sitting on bananas. Like shit. Like you got to give me time to adjust to that. Like damn. Like it was the same thing. Caitlyn Jenner got mad when everyone was calling her Bruce. It's like fuck. We knew you as Bruce. Like give us time to adjust.
Yeah. You can correct people, and you have to find that confidence to do that, and that's hard because especially let's say like you're my brother and he's super homophobic and you guys are trying to talk, so you have to be patient with him, just be nice. There might be arguments every now and then, but always remember to apologize and come to that conclusion that hey, we can still work around that. And you want to set a good example for yourself too. As soon as you start acting like a dick and you get angry over things, like people are automatically going to disrespect you whether you're gay or straight. It doesn't matter. So you got to have...
You can tell when someone's making a mistake and then someone's being a dick.
Yeah.
You can tell in a way. If someone's repeatedly doing it, like it's the same thing. My example would be like someone's knows you don't like to be called something, they just keep doing it over and over again. You've corrected them multiple times, but they just don't seem to give a shit. Then you know, hey, like seriously, it's not cool anymore. It's not funny. I don't understand the kick you're getting out of it, but it's you can tell when someone's like that, and whether they're doing it on purpose or they just really, really forget. It's very noticeable to tell.
Surprisingly, I've only met one person like that.
Who?
At my job. Well, can't really.
You don't have to say his name, but
yeah, but there's only one person I used to work with that would do that, and I've had to pull them to the side because I'm their boss and be like, hey, what the heck, like, be careful.
Was it Chris?
No. No.
I'll say Chris is very open. He's a gamer, so I don't see him picking on that. I think it's...
No.
He might slip up sometimes, but I think he'd do it in like a joking manner.
Yeah.
And you obviously have to set the tone with it too. Like, being their boss, you can still be their friend, but you can't be like, like, hey, want to go get, you want that one dude was lighting up the bathroom a minute ago. You can't crack jokes like that, you know what I mean?
No.
But it's like I said, it's something that you deal with. I give you so much credit again, like I said, for being in the public about it too, because it seems like when you're dealing with something like this, the one thing you want to do is hide yourself from everyone, and it's really hard. Like you said, you enjoy being an icon for someone. That's a great way of displaying it, being able to be open and be out into public and let people know, like, hey, this is how I am. You can accept me for me, or you can just get the fuck over it.
That's my main drive. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be so open about it. Because my depression and anxiety gets so bad sometimes, like sitting here just talking, I'm a little shaky. But it happens. But I push through that because I don't want to be seen as somebody that's just closeted or... Do
you feel more comfortable now that we've been talking for a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. When I first started, it was like, oh my god.
That's how it always, the first 5-10 minutes starts. Everyone's all like tensed up and real focused. If you see me sitting forward and see me real into it, is because I'm into the conversation. I want to make sure I'm asking the things I want to ask, but at the same time hitting all narrow bases in a way. Is there anything about the whole transgender thing that you sense is a little bit of bullshit when it comes to asking, I guess, how society, like someone that, first of all, the one thing I have to say when it comes down to that is the ziz, zer, zim, zare, zibs, whatever the hell it is, that to me is complete bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say all that stuff. When there's a list of 30 things for me to call you, no. I will call you by your name, and if whatever gender you want to go by, sure. But if you're flipping it, no. I can't do it.
I think that came up from the very deep bottom depths of Reddit, honestly, so I don't really know where that came from.
But like, people ran with that shit. Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
It makes actual transgender people or people that want to be identified as a different gender look bad. Sorry to anyone that I just offended, but it happens, so it's like...
There was a person I went to school with now. He was a grade behind me. I don't want to say his name, but he was dressed female. Like very female, fish leg stockings, like makeup, boots, walk around. And I didn't understand. I just thought he was gay. But finding out now, like looking back, he's transgender. He still used the guy's restroom. That was uncomfortable a little bit. And I remember he said something to me because there were 4 urinals, and he got in trouble immediately for trying to use the female bathroom, which at this time schools weren't all gender restrooms anymore. Now you see them, they're all gender restrooms. They're pretty open about it because it seems like it's been more being known now, and a lot of people have raised sites about it. Parents have gotten upset.
Were you more uncomfortable with having him in the her in the bathroom as a woman, or was it just because that
it actually wasn't the gender thing that I was uncomfortable about? Okay. I was uncomfortable that it's a known thing when there's urinals on the wall. You don't. It's the same thing when you're at a gym and you're on a treadmill. You don't use the treadmill next to somebody. If there's an open one beside it, you use that one. Yeah. There were all these freaking urinals open. I'm taking a piss, and I already have a problem pissing in public when it comes to I can't. My ADHD gets my mind going, so I totally forget I have to piss. It's that type of thing. I'll be sitting there, and my buddy's like, "Just do math in your head if you can't pee." And I'm like, okay, that doesn't work because I suck at math. So I'm sitting there 2 + 2 is 4. And then I get stuck on the freaking problem. I'm in the bathroom for 30 minutes I have my pants down. I need to piss. Okay. But no, he picked the urinal right beside me. I wasn't mad that he was in the boys' bathroom. I was pissed that, out of all these urinals, you're picking the one beside me. And he's like, do I make you uncomfortable? While I'm pissing. I'm like, I stopped mid-pee. I was like, oh my God, I can't get it to start again. I'm freaking out. Why are you asking me these weird questions? It's the same thing. If I looked over and someone's pissing, I'm like, hey, nice dick. It's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not, and in my head, it made me, when I left the bathroom, I was thinking in my head, am I just uncomfortable around gay people? It hit me for a minute. And then 10 minutes later, I'm sitting in class, and I'm like, I still got to piss. And I'm like, I need to raise my hand and go back. People are going to think I'm taking a shit. And I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, wait a minute. No, I was just uncomfortable that he was talking to me while I was in that sensitive moment. I was in a private, area type thing. It was I was in, that's your me time in a way. It's the same thing when you're going to the bathroom. You don't, if you're taking a nice dump, and like I said, I'm gonna talk to you. I'm open with everybody. So, when I'm taking a crap or something, I want that 20 minutes where no one bothers me. I'm going to be on Facebook asking people about podcasts. So anybody gets any messages about podcasts, no. But
you're most likely shitting.
I'm most likely on my phone taking shit or laying in bed. But not the same. I'm not shitting in my bed or anything. No, but it's that's your comfort zone in a way. It's the same thing we talked about with locking your door and hiding in your room. That's the one place you can truly feel comfortable. You can walk around your house naked is one thing when no one's home, but it's not the same as being naked in your room. It's not, in a way, you feel like you're kind of being naked into society now. You're letting people see the bare bones of things. Mm-hmm. You're letting people know, this is how I feel, this is how I am. And like I said, I give you so much respect for that because it is something I haven't even mustered up the strength to do. I'm not transgender, I'm not gay, I'm not anything of that sort. But, being always focused on how society thinks of me, even though I say I don't give a shit. Everyone truly does, we all truly judge, but being able to overcome that and go out and even with that notion of, how you might think of it, but staying in that mindset in public is difficult for me to get down to. Mm-hmm. And I respect you for being able to go out and do that.
Well, thank you.
And I do want to go back to the whole childhood thing, because something that I'm obsessed with when it comes to psychology is childhood imprinting. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that being so influenced by a parent in a certain way kind of brought you to this, or did you feel like, because you said you noticed it around 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. Is there any other things besides just wanting to take off all the girls' clothes that were being formed? Was it maybe your mom kind of forming you in a way where she was like, you need to be wearing, dressing you? You said she dressed you at the age of 13?
No, she tried to help me because I wasn't really into fashion. So her point of fashion was more feminine style stuff. And I was trying to tell my mom that I didn't want to dress like that, and she wanted the cutesy photos, you know, because when you're going through elementary, middle school,
And getting those photos taken.
yeah, but my mom's that kind of person where she wants those photos and she wants to put them up on the wall. So she figured if she could just find the outfits that I liked, then maybe I'd want to do it. But it never really happened. And then it got to a point where I wanted to dress myself, and trying to explain that to my mom was a little hard because she was kind of always there. My mom was that kind of person where she's always there for me and my sister. So telling her to back off was hard at one point. My dad didn't really have anything to do with it. He worked a lot, so I didn't see him that often. I can't really think of anything else that would have really influenced me. I think I just influenced myself.
When you got things for Christmas, or you got things for your birthday that were feminine, like makeup or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When did that stop?
Um,
When did you come out and be like, they noticed that you weren't using it, or you weren't doing it? Like, did you never wear makeup, or did you?
No, I did. I tried to wear
You
makeup.
just didn't like it?
Didn't like it. It made my eyes irritated. And
did you use that as a bit of an excuse to kind of explain to your parents in a way?
Yeah, it's like, Mom, I don't want to wear mascara and stuff. It hurts, literally. So at that point,
Probably burned your spirit in a way too.
It did, but I didn't really know why. I just thought that maybe I'm just confused because at one point, some people tend to think transgender people are confused, and I thought I was at one point, but now I know why.
Did you find any activities that you liked that were more masculine than female? Like instead of, playing with dolls or something, you found yourself wanting to go outside and...
I love video games. I was always playing video games.
Yeah, but girls can play video games too. A lot of people don't understand that.
I like to get dirty. So whenever my dad would go underneath the house, like, I just wanted to go underneath and mess with dirty things, and everyone would just think that was weird. Because I didn't want to paint my fingernails or
That's
anything.
got to be hard because you don't understand, like, we all know those people that we consider to be weird, that like collect bugs and do all that stuff. Like, it's hard to understand if that's like, especially when you look at it's probably you can get misconstrued if you're a girl and you like to play with dirt. Like people are thinking, oh, that's just a weird girl. You know what I mean? Like maybe she just feels different. Maybe what we define as weird is someone that's trying to figure out if they're transgender or not.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe that's just what they like.
Or they just like taking all the neighborhood pets and then they all go missing. That's how you know little Timmy's a little bit of a freak. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's crazy because like I was a little kid too, and I didn't like to get dirty a whole lot. Like now I like to stay clean, and it's weird because there are sometimes like my mom will be walking out, and I'm like that doesn't go with that. Like she's like what? And I'm like that doesn't match what you're wearing. Like you would be better if you wore this thing. And I say that to her, and she's like. I know she has those thoughts, like, is my son gay? He doesn't date anybody, but, he doesn't seem like it, but with his style, it's weird. I'm like, I wore this orange shirt that you can't see, but this shirt, because it goes great with my pants. Yeah. And it's like,
it just works.
That's just how I work. But see, I was always the kid that was wearing, like, really crappy clothing and really... like AC/DC shirts that were 2 sizes too big. That type of thing for being, like, kind of dealing with body issues. I was trying to hide myself behind bigger layers of clothing.
I was that person, too.
And, I mean, I still do that now. Like, this shirt's a large, and I definitely shouldn't be... I don't like... There's times I like wearing a tight shirt, and there's times I don't. Like, there's times, it gets hard for me, like, if I have a crappy day where I just eat nothing but, like... To me, bad food is, like, too much food.
Remember how I said I used to have, like, really long hair?
Yeah.
That did get in the way, and I tried to convince my mom for the longest time to let me cut it.
Like when you were a kid to cut it?
Yeah, and she never would let me do it. Until me and my sister got lice from school, so after we treated her hair...
That shit sucks.
Out, yeah, I was like, Mom, can we just go chop it off, please? I don't want to deal with that ever again, so...
I think me and my brother got it once, and we had to sit with this foam shit in our hair for, like...
My mom put mayonnaise in my hair.
It felt like hours. Like I sat there with foam stuff trying to kill it. And I remember Men in Black 2 was the only thing that was on the TV. Mm-hmm. And I watched that whole movie sitting in a really crappy like wooden chair in front of the TV in the middle of the family room with towels all around me. And I was in the most uncomfortable spot in the world.
Yep.
And I'm like, every time I watch that movie, it brings me back to that. I'm like, oh my God, like that feeling. It's like, ugh. But it's crazy because... at that point when so she went because she thought of the notion of you getting lice as not wanting your hair to be long like that ever again.
She thought that I would get made fun of if I cut my hair short, and my mom was
It's
always...
true, though.
Yeah.
You would have got made fun of, especially if you were a girl dressing with short hair.
Yeah, I felt I was getting more made fun of when my hair was long, and I couldn't, like, tame the thing. Like, it was always poofy and everywhere, and it was always in my way, and I hated it. So me trying to explain that to my mom, she wasn't picking that up, because she always loved her long, fluffiest hair.
That's what would have been the first sign for me if I was your parent, that there's something not right about my kid, basically. Because a girl thinks of, like, a symbol for a guy is muscles. A symbol for a girl is their hair. It's basically their looks. I don't mean to be, like, rude in saying that, but when you think of a girl, usually the girls want their hair long, with their hair styled a certain way. You know, that's a stereotype. So if my daughter was, you know, didn't want her hair long anymore, wanted it short, I would be like, that's my first giant thing I would ask. I'd be like, do you feel like you might be, you know, not comfortable in a certain way, whether you're gay, straight, you know, something like that? Is there something going on? I definitely ask. I'm not afraid to bring up those things to people. I'm not afraid to ask, hey, like, do you feel like you're gay in a way? Do you feel like you're... I'm not afraid to ask those questions. A lot of people are. A lot of people don't even realize the warning signs and symptoms.
Yeah, I really love my mom, but she's super naive, so she just doesn't see things at first. You have to point them out to her in order for her to get it. So there was a while when me and my mom would butt heads, and I kind of regret it sometimes, but...
Did she think you were going through just, like, some type of, like, phase or something when you wanted these kind of changes?
She thought that I was definitely...
Just immature in a way?
Immature, like, I wanted to fit in, I guess. She thought I was trying to fit in with the crowd, and I just wanted to feel comfortable, like, because there was a lot of times when I wasn't, so... And going through high school, just being in high school, wasn't always the best for me either, because I did get bullied. So just trying to feel comfortable at home was my main goal at this point, and it wasn't kind of there. So
we're talking about home being the comfortability factor, and it's like, you don't feel comfortable at home. Where in your mind, that can cause someone with severe depression, because if you can't feel comfortable in your home, where the fuck else is there to be comfortable in?
I went to therapy at one point, and it helped, but I stopped going because I thought I was fine. I should probably go back.
You're talking to me. I'll be your therapist. Shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think of this in a way as a type of therapy for me and you, and for anybody out there listening that might be struggling. I mean, there could be transgender people I don't know about that could listen to this podcast and hear you, and then, you know, that can give them a little bit of inspiration, knowing that being transgender and feeling out of place it's relatable and it's not. There's ways that people deal with the same thing where I seem like I kind of made a relation to you in a way where it comes down to feeling out of place.
Yeah.
You know, it's a type of dysmorphia. There are many different types of it, you know.
And I think if people can relate to each other more,
you can understand the situation that they're in better.
And people will respect you for that, and they come to terms with it, and that's what I want to see in this world. Society to just come together. It might be a different situation, like for you with your body, and for me how I know I'm someone else.
It's all looks, though. It all boils down to looks.
Still boils down to what makes you feel comfortable, and if somebody can just connect with that and have an open mind, then that's great, you know?
When I struggle with ADHD, and it's hard to explain to people, like, you don't understand what ADHD is, and they're like, well, you just can't pay attention, you just got too much energy, what's worse than that? Imagine drinking 50 cups of coffee, 30 energy drinks.
Oh, God.
And those days where you're like, I stayed up for 2 days. Imagine that constantly.
Yeah.
Imagine it never going away. And then for 10 minutes out of the day, or 10 minutes, it could be an hour a day, or not an hour a day. It could be 10 minutes out of an hour every single day. So every hour you have this 10 minutes where you're just completely exhausted. You don't want to do anything but lay down. You just want to fall asleep right there. Imagine getting your energy right back 10 minutes after the 10 minutes is up. It sucks. It literally, like, there's times it's the middle of the night. Like, I get up at 4 in the morning. I sleep probably 2-3 hours a day. And it's because and those are like hour sleeps. Those aren't full like 8-hour sleeps, and that's only because like my mind's constantly racing. It's hard to shut it off. I constantly feel like I should be doing something. I should be wanting to go out and do something. The only time I ever can is when I'm extremely tired, and that's why I take like a nap during the day or something. It's hard for people to understand that. It's not that I'm depressed. It's that, you know, it's a lot. Like, you're constantly dealing with stuff, and it's you got so many irons in the fire, I would say. And it's like, it's hard to explain that to people, but, you know, it's, if people can relate, use that example in relation, they can understand ADHD better. Same relation, they can understand, like, imagine a snake, you know, that sheds its skin. I'm not saying you're a snake, I'm just saying you're somebody that's trying to get this fake coat off you, this image off you that you don't feel like you're comfortable down deep inside.
Yeah.
And that's a good way of, I did a great way of doing that. Yeah, I'm going to give myself credit on that one. That was a good thing. I give that to my one gay friend that, his name's Brian.
Shedding its skin.
Yeah, how he said he felt like a snake. Because it gave me a perspective on all that in a way. And talking to you has given me another perspective on transgender, where I was kind of cracking little jokes about how it's bullcrap, but mostly on the fact that it's someone that can flip constantly in the middle of a conversation. I don't believe. I also do not like the notion, I don't know if you know this MMA fighter, Leona Fox, or whatever her name is, ever his name is. I'm going to call it a guy because of just the way he took it. He did not disclose in the MMA that he was originally a male and he was fighting in the women's division. This is a guy that, or a woman that looks like a woman, but has the body shape of a guy, has the muscles of a guy, is ripped like a guy, you know, everything that's masculine, and beating the shit out of natural women, like actual women, and did not disclose his information, and people were wondering why he was winning championships. And he later came out as saying, oh, I got a gender reassignment, I got, you know, surgery and got hormones and all that. That's not fair. I don't see that as legal. I believe there should be a separate division for transgender people. But, you know, some fighters were like, oh, I'll kick his ass, whatever, I don't care if it's a guy, girl, whatever, I can still kick his ass. And then, like, those people lost, and then they immediately went the complete opposite way. Like, it's not fair. It's not that it's wrong. It is wrong, but it's not the fact that, like, I don't believe in transgenderness. It's the fact that that person has masculine qualities, stuff that a woman, even if you transition into a man, you're never going to have. There are certain things that are your bone size, there are certain things you can't change whether you do severe surgery or not. There's certain aspects of it. And the fact that he did not disclose what he was before. He was a guy that was married, that had like 3 kids, and then decided, 6 years before, to do a gender thing. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand that. I see that as bullshit. Mostly not the fact that he wanted to be a female, but he didn't disclose it. And then joined a women's championship league, and then started beating the shit out of people. That is ridiculous.
For me, I feel that trans people should feel that they have the right to not disclose if they were born the opposite gender. I think, because I want people to kind of just always see me as a male, so if they never knew, then it'd be great. But
when you're doing a competition, in my mind,
the competition thing, yeah.
I don't think people, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I really want to make it clear, like, I don't think people should feel like they have to constantly let people know what they were originally in public or something like that. Like, that's fine. But when it comes down to what's stopping me from switching over to a female and being, like, amazing at a certain style or certain sport that is, like, in a women's league type thing, it's not fair, because I'm not truly that, in a way. Even though I might feel like it, it wasn't what was assigned to me at birth. I believe if you do any type of form of competition, you need to disclose if you were originally something that you're not now. That is the same way it came out as when a lot of people in basketball didn't want to play with certain members or certain football players because, they were gay or something, it was like a big thing. I'm not playing with a gay guy. Like, that was a big thing. Nobody gives a shit now. There might be some people, but it's like it's not. That's not something to disclose, because whether it's still a guy, he's not changing. But when it comes to gender, you're entering a women's league that's designed for women. It's meant for, your competition is women. That's the same thing if I go to preschool and play a basketball game with those kids. I'm gonna whip some ass. Like, it's not something I'm gonna. I have a severe advantage. I'm older, taller. I can reach the net. They can't. Like, it's that type of thing. And you got to think of it the same thing when you're dealing with transgender. If you're not of that gender, I believe you do have to, explain, hey, I'm not originally this. Is that going to be a problem? And I do believe we should have leagues developed that are for them. That are, not to say them as characterizing them as something, but it's like, we definitely need to have leagues that are, open to this. That, because it's always going to be a thing, like how I think of it, where people are not going to go into the notion of accepting transgender people into, a certain thing. Like, I don't believe. I mean, we had a girl football or girl wrestling player, and a lot of guys didn't want to wrestle her because it's a girl. Eventually, that's going to change. Like, it's going to, more women are going to be common in wrestling.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, it would be different if a guy tried to wrestle women. Mm-hmm. If it was a guy joining a women's wrestling league and was a guy, like, showing he was a guy and trying to wrestle people, would be 100% different than how we really ignore the notion of women joining a guy's thing. It's like, oh, that's a girl, she's kicking ass. Like, that type of thing. Yeah. It's the same thing like when the guy teacher we had recently at our school was flirting with a girl that was underage. That was a big thing. He got fired, lost his job, and everything like that. And it became like he went to jail and did all this stuff. And then we have we take the same role but just flip it. Mm-hmm. A woman that's flirting on a guy. We look at the 17-year-old that's getting the 30-year-olds, sex and all that stuff. We look at that like, damn, that's my boy. Like, that was the whole movie. That's my boy. Like, that was what that whole movie is about. Yes, she did get in trouble, but at the same time, he was getting so much respect and credit. We look at a girl in that situation and be like, they're hurt. Mm-hmm. They went through some traumatic experience.
Yeah. When, in actuality, both of them can be just equally as hurt.
Equally valid, yes.
But because of the way society is, you don't want to be seen as a pussy, so you just push it off to the side, and deep down, it actually is very painful, but no one's really going to know that. So I feel if people are more open about talking about those kinds of things and making it feel more comfortable, again, this is all going
society
back to the whole
needs a hug.
Thing. Yeah,
I feel like our arms are closed, and we need to open them up a little bit.
Yep.
I do believe that we need to sense when things are bullshit, like I'm saying, when it comes to like flopping yourself around 30 times in a conversation, not deciding, not attention seeking in a way.
Yeah.
But how do you feel on the transgender joining the women's league? Like, do you believe that there should be a separate league? Do you agree with me on that, or do you believe?
I guess if I wanted to do something like that, I would want to be on the men's team, so I would fight for that, but there's got to be some kind of effort being put in. If he's on estrogen and they're going through that change, then their body is going to show it, because it should fix itself. Like how I said, testosterone and estrogen moves the muscle mass and gives you that form. There should be something in play that takes care of that, so it should equal down
discloses
to it.
It at least.
Yeah, where he's not just big and buff and just beating the crap out of people. Like,
yeah, if we were farther in technology standards where they can morph the bones a little bit more and make it more equal in a way, it's just hard to look at and see like that there's an obvious difference. Like, they got a man's frame fighting a woman. Like, yeah. Even though that they look like a woman, it's like you still have the man specifics. The man, it's hard to...
Like, I wouldn't just want to be grouped into a group that I know is trans. Like, if you're a cis male and I'm trans...
Cis male?
Cis male is cisgender, where you were born and you identify as that gender as you were born with.
Okay.
And I want to challenge you, like, I should have that right to do that. Like, I know you have an advantage. but I'm willing to get the life beaten out of me just to prove that I'm genuinely a male.
Best with the bunch, basically.
Yeah, like, I want to feel like I can still fit in. So, I kind of agree with what you're saying, and I kind of don't. Like, I just don't want to be put into that pile, like, oh, here's the trans people.
Shit.
Yeah.
We're able to have our different opinions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, don't feel like, you need to agree with me on anything. Trust me. If you feel like a certain way that you don't believe what I'm saying, then let me know. Yeah. Clarify it more to me. I'm going to have my beliefs, and you're going to have your beliefs, obviously. But I don't want to feel like I've stepped on your toes or created such a vibe where it's like, or we didn't agree on this, I'm not going to talk to this person. I don't want it to be like that. I want to be educated more on the thing, and I'm going to let you know my feelings on stuff, and whether it could be 5 years down the road, it could be a month down the road, it could be a week down the road, and my views on it change, It's going to happen. I believe my notion of someone not feeling that they're in the right skin is, I understand that because I can relate to that and not in being worried about my looks as well. Mm-hmm. Now the notion of wrestling a female, I don't mind wrestling a female. I'm not going to treat you any different only because I did MMA for a very, very short time. Mm-hmm. And I wrestled a female once, and actually multiple times, but it was just one female. And, she kicked my ass. Yeah. She knew a lot more. She was older than me, obviously, which, she was in her 30s or whatever. I was uncomfortable at the first time. And then after she kicked my ass, I was like, all right, no. Yeah. You're just like me. Fuck that. I'm going ham. And then next thing you know, she still kicked my ass.
Still kicked her ass.
Yeah. But, like, it's different. I believe that everyone should have that experience. Like, once you play, and, like, it's probably the same thing these kids are experiencing where they're wrestling, all these, like, if you wrestle a girl that's now on the wrestling team and stuff like that, at first you're going to be like, it's a girl, I don't want to hurt her, I don't want to wrestle her, that type of thing. The next thing she kicks your ass, and then you're like, all right, no, my pride is on the line, fuck what's right, I'm gonna slam you on your head now. It brings that notion into it, and it's like, it's the same thing where I said, like, I like to date a girl that knows how to, rough it up in a way. I like to date a girl that stands up for herself. Mm-hmm. It's not that I want a girl to be, super masculine and, but I want a girl that can take care of herself. I want to know that, like, we can wrestle, we can play around, I don't have to worry about, I broke a nail. I don't like that whole notion. I want the whole, like, you want me to make you a sandwich? Why don't you go in the kitchen and make a sandwich? Like, that type of shit. Like, not be a jerk, but it's like, I don't like the whole notion of feeling like you need to be taken care of, in a way. In a way, take care of me. That type of thing. Like, I like that aspect of it. Like, oh, you're going to bring me a sandwich? That type of thing. But then throwing it at me or doing something like that, like, I don't know. I'm an idiot when it comes down to that whole lines of it. But it's like, I see people as how they act, not how they look. Mm-hmm. And that's a very important thing that we have to focus on as society. And when we talk about imprinting and influences in a way, and you talk about how, like, it was hard kind of it's still kind of probably difficult for people to see you and correct you in a way, but it's getting better in a focus. And do you believe that's more of just people knowing you better, being more comfortable around you, or do you feel like society's getting a little bit more open to the idea of transgenderness?
I definitely think people are starting to come around to it. Like, people ask me questions, and that means that they actually have been thinking about it, like, maybe they want to know, maybe they care even a little bit. So I take every question I get to heart, and it's like, all right, I want to make sure you understand, hey, I'm still just like you, just slightly different. I'm pretty sure we relate on other things. You may not relate with the whole gender dysphoria, and that's fine. I would hope that people don't, because it's really a tough thing to deal with every day, like depression. You don't want people to just deal with that stuff all the time. Like, that gets hard.
Do your tastes change at all? I don't know if testosterone affects that, but do you feel like you're attracted to different foods?
I used to drink a lot, and I would want to do, like, sweet cocktails, stuff along sweet, definitely sweet stuff. Now I have this taste for hard liquor, like sour stuff. Like
What?
Yeah, like it's definitely morphing. I don't want the sweet stuff anymore, so it's kind of rough because I like to make cupcakes. I don't want to actually eat them anymore. Like I'm looking.
That's weird because
Yeah.
I like sweet drinks that don't taste like alcohol. I
Yeah.
really hate beer. I don't. If I'm gonna drink, I've always drank like the hard stuff. Like I've had bad experiences with it, and the main reason I don't drink is because I think of drinks as calories, so I don't consume drinking calories. So I drink diet drinks and stuff like that. Stuff that says 0 on the label. Always checking the nutrition label. That's one of my biggest like stuff I need to work over. But when it comes to like, I drank Fireball, like a whole bottle of it, the giant ones. I killed it all in one sitting, and then I went to the gym for the next like 2 days after I drank that. I was sweating nothing but cinnamon to the point where if I smell French toast now, if I even anything that has cinnamon in it, I get sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when I first went to the gym for the first 2 weeks. I was eating nothing but a bag of spicy nacho Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew while playing video games before I started the gym. Once I started the gym, I ran on the treadmill for the first 2 weeks. I sweated nothing but spicy nacho Doritos. I look at Doritos now in a store and I get sick to my stomach. I walk past the chip aisle. I cannot eat them anymore. It comes down to like, what I wanted to understand was if you're getting all these scents that are changing about you, you're gonna start getting certain male things happening to you that are popping up. I didn't know if taste was a giant change in that, because it's got to be hard wanting to feel like you're a guy in a way but still bake, because you don't that's not seen as like baking cupcakes and cookies and stuff like that is seen more as a feminine thing, at least a stereotypical way. I don't see it as that. I definitely think like there's a stigma behind everything. But there's definitely a stigma, like, you see, like, Polly Grandma that cooks the cookies and stuff like that. You don't see, like, a dude dressed up in all metal attire and, like, all Avenged Sevenfold gear with, like, really long punk hair and, like, skull rings on, baking a souffle or something. But at the same time, there's Gordon Ramsay, even though he's not like that, but he's a guy that likes to cook. It's like everyone's got their own passions. So what is your passion besides cooking? Is that the goal, the end up dream in the long run? Is that what you want to accomplish? Like, do you have something deep down that you want to pursue besides this being this gender reassignment? Is there something down in there?
Yeah, my passion was singing for the longest time. Like, I was always in choir. And what's funny is that I always did the highest parts. So those really high squeaky sounds, that was me in choir. So starting testosterone, that was a big reason why I waited so long on it.
Because you didn't know if it was going to affect your voice?
Yeah, there was no one I knew that, hey, if my voice dropped, am I still going to sound good? I won't be able to hit those high notes like I used to, but will I still be able to sing? Because people can sing, it doesn't mean they're good. So I wanted to still be good and find male choirs that I can probably incorporate that stuff with. So I just do vocal exercises every day and keep working at it, because if my vocal range is like long, I can get
so is mine, yeah.
Yeah, I can get pretty high, and I'm starting to work on getting pretty deep, and hoping I can keep that and use that to my use it later on, because I definitely miss singing. I used to be part of this group called Sweet Allies. It was an all women's choir, and we'd do like little quartets. So I was the tenor, and then you had the baritone, the bass, and the lead. The tenor was the highest part because it was all feminine. So I'm hoping maybe that there's a male one around here somewhere when my voice actually starts sounding like it.
My whole family is musically influenced. Everyone plays an instrument, multiple instruments. Everyone's in bands now. I'm the only one that really didn't follow in that line. I did for a little bit. If people tell me I can sing, I always like to say, I don't like, I can't sing, just to get the credit of being people like, no, you can't sing, I guess I can. That type of attention. But it's like, I can hit really, really high notes. I remember in third grade, I think it was, third or fourth grade, I was in this one lady's class. Her name's Miss Circle, or different now. I talk about it on my New Year's Day podcast with my third grade teacher. I was afraid, like I was in class and like I'd sing, but like kind of quietly and shy. And she would look down at me and I really wouldn't be paying attention because my ADHD and stuff was like really where it was major, and when I was a little kid in elementary school. And like I wasn't paying attention. She made me stay after class and sing this song called Memories. My parents still remember it because like they'll sing it every time now just to mess with me. Like when Mom would be in the kitchen, memory, like do that, something like that, and I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. First of all, but no, I don't sing that anymore. But it was like a really high pitched thing, and my teacher heard me sing it to her privately, 1-on-1. She's like, you're gonna sing the song, and then you're gonna go to your class. I'm like, okay. So she did that, and I sung. She's like, you have a beautiful voice. Why don't you voice it more? And I was like, I was singing. It was off track for that 1 minute. I was thinking about something else. There was a bug on the windshield or something, like something like that. My mind just randomly wandered. And she was like telling me, like, I'm going to do this. We're going to practice this amount of times a day, and I want you to sing this performance live in front of everybody. And I was so scared, so nervous to get up in front of anybody, which doesn't seem like me because you know me from speech class and stuff. But it's like, that's who I was. I didn't like my voice. I constantly got made fun of because my voice was so high pitched. Like everyone was like, you sound like you haven't hit puberty and like all this stuff. And then suddenly, like, it talks how I do now, where my voice isn't really high pitched anymore. It's deeper and it's more clear, loud. It was difficult to get up on stage and sing that song, but I remember the feeling I got afterwards was just amazing. I felt like, I was looking down, seeing my parents in the front row, like, just, like, tearing up. Like, it was something like, I'm glad I went and did it. I'm glad I pursued it. And that's what brought my mind to when you were saying taking hormones and your voice changing. It made me think of singers or someone that could do that. Being a transgender singer is, like, I think that's, like, the one thing that's, like, in my mind is something that you can, like, easily do. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's a lot what people do when they're trying to get attention. Not saying you're trying to get attention. I'm saying, like, that's the thing that's going to get you music sold. That's everything. Like, that's a lot. When you see artists dress a certain way or dress a certain style or have a certain flair, they're doing that for attention. And it's like, think of a transgender person wanting to be a singer. It's like, okay, that's a common job for a transgender person to do. But thinking of a transgender person as wanting to be a, like, car mechanic or something, that's like, whoa. So it's a little bit different. You know what I mean? There's a stigma behind it. And that's society's fault in a way. I don't know where I was taking that, but it was just curious to see, like, you said you have a passion for singing, which is something you want to chase down in the long run. Like, I'm obsessed with freaking a cappella groups, like the ones that sing together in unison, like the Temptations or something like that. Like, that's awesome.
That's
like
what I did.
That's something. I'll start a group with you. We'll do it.
It was fun. Like, I fucking miss it so much because I haven't been in an a cappella group since I was 18.
You know why I think that
19.
is? It's because you're all, like, putting your mix together and displaying. It seems like you're all envisioning one thing. Like, you're all conforming into one thing, so you feel like you're not out of place. You're just with the group.
Like, I actually have a video on my phone of the group that I was in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
No problem. But I could probably show it to you after the podcast or something.
Oh, for sure.
But it was really cool.
That's funny. We should start an a cappella group,
Dude,
like the Temptations. What would we call it, though?
I don't know. The Rockettes just popped in my head. I don't know.
The Rockettes?
Yeah, the Rockettes.
I like that one.
The Rockettes.
It makes me think of broccoli. Bringing it back to food, man.
You like broccoli?
I do. I love all vegetables.
Alright, then there we go. The Rockettes it is.
The Rockettes. I think we should be called, like, the Plumbers.
The Plumbers?
You know why?
Why?
I like to take dumps. And then gender fluid.
Yeah.
So, like, flipping back and forth. So, bam, the Plumbers. We just need to find other people that have those two things in common.
All I was thinking of was just Mario. That was the first thing.
That'd be perfect, too. We could dress up like... Oh, we can't have two people in an a cappella group.
Yeah, Mario and Luigi.
So, you said you had a fascination with video games. Is that the types of games you played and stuff?
Yeah, I was big into Sega. And... I like Sonic, yeah.
Who's your favorite? Knuckles?
No, Tails.
Right on. That's my favorite too, Tails.
Yeah,
because he can fly.
He was my boy.
That one and what's his name? I like Shadow a little bit. Okay, this is the question that leads up to that. My buddy was the one that my third grade teacher introduced me to. Was complete opposite of who I was. all black clothing. You know, the complete, quiet, shy, like, seemed like the weird kid in a way, from what I know him as. And then I was the complete opposite, like, coming to a new school, and she introduced me, like, you're going to get along with this kid. And it was crazy because she did, and he's the one that makes my intro beats and things like that. And it's like, it's crazy because we became such close friends, and, like, his favorite Sonic character was Shadow because it was like all dark. He's the guy that got me interested in Jack Skellington and all that. I'm addicted to that, even though I just watched the movie, the Christmas, whatever the night before Christmas. I just watched that.
You just watched it?
I only watched bits and pieces before. It's like the Matrix.
What?
I've fallen asleep so many times in the Matrix where like I've only seen bits and pieces of all three of them. Or how many there are.
Yeah.
I've never watched like a full sitting, so I only know glimpses and all that stuff of it.
You have got to see the other Tim Burton movies. They're fantastic.
Is Coraline one?
Yeah, Coraline is one.
That one scares me. I don't know, the weird animations he does scares the crap out of me. But I'm like a fan of Jack Skellington. Like I watched that movie because it was on Netflix for Halloween was when I finally saw it, like the full thing, watched it all the way through. And I always know, like, the Oogie Boogie, like, from Kingdom Hearts and all those types of games. Like, that's where my fascination clicked with that. And, it was just crazy to see how, like, I was so connected to this kid who was basically the complete opposite of me in a way, but we were so similar at the same time.
Yeah.
And his family, like, became my family. Like, he became a part of my family. And it's like, it was weird. I felt like I was his voice in a way because, like, I could talk my ass off. And he was just constantly so shy, head down at the table, like when we're all eating and stuff, but he was only comfortable in his own home. Like when we were out in public or something like that, I'd always be answering for him. Like my dad would be like, Matt, do you want anything? And Matt would be like, Robbie, can you ask your buddy if he wants something? Matt, you want something? Yeah, and then he answers me like, like he was only comfortable around me, which now he's a hell of a lot better around me. He talks a lot more. But I've always known him as the talker. I've always known him as that because when he was always around me, it was so comfortable. Like, we could be ourselves. We were the ones that were like, going down to the video store in Berlin, 5 minutes from his house because Berlin's a small town.
Yeah.
And his house was like right down the street from the whole town, so it was like we could do anything. And my house was a street down from his house, so I was always over there. Even though I was so little, my parents still had to drive me over. But it was like. It was so cool because we were going down to the thing, getting airheads, those long air rope things, the little sour ones, and then getting hot fries or cheese fries with a detective on the front, getting those and getting Arizona teas or getting a bunch of sodas and just going back to the house and playing Call of Duty Nazi Zombies, like all this type of stuff, like just gaming out all night, not going to bed. His dad coming downstairs, are you guys going to go to sleep? I remember I stayed there for a week straight and his dad literally said, do I need to buy you a toothbrush? Literally, that's what he said. I stayed there like the whole summer, basically. Like my dad dropped me off a toothbrush, dropped me off a bunch of stuff, spare clothes, all this stuff, because I just wasn't coming home. My parents worked, so it was like, there was no need for me to be in the house when it was like this. You know what I mean? Like it was summertime. I could do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to go home and play video games, I'd rather play video games at my buddy's house.
Yeah, why not?
And his dad taught me how to use the shower and everything at their house because I couldn't. I didn't, you never know how to work someone else's shower except your own.
Oh, I know, I hate that.
And it was just funny. It was good times. It was like, just knowing that, and then knowing like there's different ways people are out of place in themselves, whether they're shy in public because they just have a fear of speaking, or they're shy because they're afraid how someone's going to think they're an idiot because they talk too much. Like. It's the same thing whether you're gay, straight, female. We all have our complications in life, and we all have stuff that we deal with on every day-to-day basis, and we shouldn't judge others on what they're going through because we don't understand it ourselves.
Right. 100%. I agree with you.
That was a Martin Luther King
you had
conclusion to a really dumb story that I was just ranting for 10 minutes.
That's fine. I kind of like listening to it.
I mean, it's cool to understand like what people get into, and it's like you saying you're into video games, and you were into that at an age. Did that affect your friendships at all? Did that affect did you grow up not having a whole lot of friends just because of how you were?
I never wanted to have a lot of friends, so I distanced myself on purpose. But yeah. I didn't have a lot of friends. There was one girl who used to live here. She's moved to Canada now. But we clicked really quick, and she was always there, but she always kind of could tell that something was different. And I used to have like the biggest crush on her, and I tried not to because she was my best friend. And really,
how hard has that got to be?
You can't stop yourself from liking someone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that is very hard. I remember her straight up telling me, "You need to kiss a dude," and I was like, "What if I don't want to kiss a dude?" You know what I mean? Like, I want to kiss you, and trying to explain that to her, and
being afraid that you might lose a friend because if something happened.
She was all I had, like, because I didn't want a lot of friends, and me and her were comfortable, and that was all I really needed. Like, we would hang out and play video games, and she used to have chickens and stuff, so I'd help her out on the farm, and yeah, she had chickens.
I love goats. My buddy lives near a goat farm, so I'm like, every time I drive by, I'm like, what happens if I just took a goat? And he goes, that's illegal. I'm like, just one goat, man. They got so many.
Yeah.
So they're so tiny, so cool. My buddy that listens to my podcast, and he's like a listener, like an actual, like he's listening to every single one, but he hasn't caught up to where you said you haven't caught up. Like, you've been listening, and when I messaged you, I wanted to bring that up before I totally went off on a tangent on it, but like, you've been listening. When I messaged you, yeah, I've been listening to your podcast. I'm like, what? Like, It's insane to think of. Like, even if it's just in your free time, but it's cool because it brings down to, like, you're getting to know me as well as getting to know other people in a way. Like, you're opening up, and sometimes we talk about things that you're like, oh, that's funny, or it gives you a quick laugh, or gives you something to listen to, And he does the same thing. He just got back from Germany, and he's supposed to be coming down this weekend, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'll call out of work to do this podcast. I don't care. Like, it needs to happen. It's a special edition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the one thing I told him, bring me back a goat horn from Germany. Like, he's like, what? I'm like, go find a goat and break off its horn. He's like, what's your fascination with goats? I'm like, no, it's just like the one thing you think is stereotypes, and we're talking about stereotypes, you think of Germany, like, that's either beer or goats for me.
Yeah.
I always think of Beer Fest or Oktoberfest, and then next thing you know, I think of a goat for some reason.
I kind of had this fascination with turkeys. Like, I wanted to make an actual goal where I have a pet turkey in my yard. I don't know why.
No Thanksgiving meal?
Well, I'll still eat turkeys, but just not that turkey. That's my pet.
That's what they do, the president does. Did you know that? They pardon a turkey every year?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
They had 2 turkeys. Wasn't it peas and... what was the other one?
Carrots.
Peas and carrots, yeah. It was so adorable.
Your definition of adorable is completely different from my definition of adorable. I don't eat a whole lot of, Thanksgiving food. Usually on Thanksgiving it's shrimp and crab cakes, or, on Christmas Day it was shrimp and crab cakes before I filmed my podcast with my cousin. And it was like, dude, that's just always how I've been. I don't know if it's the factor of, like, feeling, like, different, but it's what I eat. I try and eat clean, so it's like, that's what I focus on food a lot when it comes to, like, healthier options. I don't go out to eat because I'm afraid of the oils and dressings people put on stuff, and you don't know how something's cooked. But it's like my body hasn't had that type of food in forever, and when it does have it, it experiences times where my body's getting hit in a way where I feel like crap. I get depressed a little bit. My body's not going to the bathroom. It's not doing certain things because it's like, how am I supposed to process this food I've never consumed before? It's something I gotta learn to incorporate back into my life, and it's something, like I said, we're all working on something and striving on something to get better. And you've opened my eyes to the light of transgenderness, and I'm not trying to wrap it up here. I'm just saying, when it comes down to, like, not, only having one friend and being afraid to express yourself, knowing that friend, having that fear that friend could leave you, that's does not make your situation any better. And it's really, like, a lot of people don't understand when it comes to, like, these people that grow up and freak out and have these giant, like, changes to their life. They added this giant change, like, it needs to happen now because they've kept it so closed off forever. You just literally made me think of the whole Bruce Jenner thing in a whole another light. He snapped and did all this stuff so quickly. And it was quick. It was a quick transition, and he wasn't ready for it. And I believe that, like, if he feels like he wasn't properly set in his shoes in a way by setting his path for being a female, it feels like now he's male. It was because he was pushing down all these deep down emotions where he was constantly feeling like he was different. And, it's like the same thing when we look at someone that goes to a bank and shoots a bunch of people when they're super, super stressed. They've been cramming their emotional problems and stress down deep, deep, deep for all these years and finally breaking out at one false stride. There's the people that snap all the time and they're like, oh, that's just, I'm getting over it. And there's the people that push it down and then one day shoot up a store.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference. And it relates to when someone's gay and they come out and then next thing you know, they're just like, this is me! Like, that whole thing, like, you know, not to make fun of it, but that's what, you know, that's a thing. Like, they go completely to the other end of the spectrum because they've been hiding it for so long. And they're like, I'm tired of doing this, you know? I've been wearing a mask and they feel like it's not Halloween anymore. Yeah. I'm ready to be free. I'm ready to be who I originally am. And do you feel like, so going to Halloween, did you dress a certain way for Halloween?
I always like to dress as something scary. Like, my favorite was dressing up as a werewolf. And it must be because I like wolves, so I just tried to always...
You like wolves?
Yeah, I love wolves.
What's your fascination with wolves?
The fact that they're fluffy.
The fluffy factor?
The fluffy factor. They're like...
I see you liking a black giant, like, black wolf. Like a giant, one of those Game of Thrones type wolves.
Like, my favorite dog is a husky, and I want them because they kind of look like wolves, and that's, like, the closest I can probably have.
They're very primal.
Yeah, and huskies are, like, really cuddle bugs, and they're athletic, and I need that in my life. So it's like, man, if I could have one day, it'd be great.
A wolf?
Not a wolf, but a husky.
I was about to say,
if I could touch a wolf, that would be
my
cool.
mom owned a pet wolf, I think. I don't know if it was a dog or a wolf. It was one of those wolf-like dogs.
They can be wolf dogs where they're half wolf.
I think that's what it was.
Husky or whatever.
And she said it was so loyal and everything like that. I'm like, that is a cool pet to own, though. Like, that's not a I mean, it's not a stereotypical animal. If I'm going to think of anything as a stereotype, I think it's those weird kids that have the moon. I know I said weird kids, but they have, like, the moon pendant or, like, something that draw all the time that we think of as weird, but I don't think of them as weird anymore. I did back in the day, which, it was just because, like, why is that kid drawing all the time? You must not be able to. It's like, no, that person probably can't have a conversation with someone. Either he's too smart or just doesn't want to. Like, he wants to be alone. Like, that's his vibe, you know? And, that's how I always thought of a wolf. So if I had to ask you what your spirit animal would be, what would it be? A wolf?
Probably a wolf. I like being alone, so...
But you also have a sense of loyalty, like a pack mentality.
Yeah, if I get to know someone and they genuinely respect me and I respect them, then it's like, yeah, I want you in my life. So it's like...
protective.
I'm protective. Yeah. I'm definitely loyal. Like, you could tell me anything and it would be 100% closed in my brain. I don't like drama, so I don't start it. And I don't like being a part of it. So I would definitely be a wolf if that was the case.
Now, if I had to ask you a moment in your life, I don't know if you've ever heard this on the podcast before, but a transcendental moment. A moment where everything becomes clear and you're really happy and grateful for life. You can have multiple times, but can you give me a specific one?
Definitely going back to the passion thing when I sing. Everything around me in my life or whoever's there in front of me doesn't matter. Like, I'm completely in this sense of paradise in my head and the way I feel. Even if I don't sound masculine, it's something about it that I feel at home. And it's hard to find that sense of home in my life. So when I'm singing, nothing else matters. You could tell me that song was shit or I forgot some lyrics or something. It don't matter. At that point, your opinion really... Yeah, because I'm happy.
Just because they don't like it doesn't mean it was, you know, that wasn't meant for them. That was meant for someone else that's going to take the time out of it. It's the same thing when you analyze music and you're like, I don't like that genre, I don't like this genre. Okay, it's not meant for you. It's not like, you know, music's meant to, you know, we all have different tastes, you know, same thing when it comes to food. We all have different tastes of what we like and what we don't like, you know. We're not going to have the same music judgment. I don't look at music as being bad anymore. I look at music as it's a creative passion of somebody. Someone took the time to create that. I think it was just this Monday that just happened. Like, I was looking at an orchestra in my music appreciation class, and it's like before I would have been like, this is so boring. Like when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm not sitting through that. I wouldn't mind going to one now. It was cool to watch, mostly hearing the sounds and the aspect of how everyone was just connected in a way. It felt like a formation type thing, but also the faces some of them made. Like when you see the dude playing the clarinet or like a double reed instrument, which is apparently very difficult, you know, his face was turning purple. In the video, I'm the only one in the class, like the whole class watching. I'm like, yo, he's dying. He's dying. Like, oh my God. And then like all you hear is, I'm like, where's the dude with the triangle? And next thing you know, like a minute later, there's a dude on trial. Ding! I'm like, that's my dude! Like, I'm like screaming. Everyone's like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, they're laughing, but it's like, oh my God. And it's like, I'm sitting there, like, and they had a bassoon player, and like, that was the one player I had to analyze. Everyone else had a player they had to analyze, whether it's percussion or something like that. And the teacher goes, what'd you notice about the bassoon playing? I was like, honestly, there were 2 bassoon players in the whole orchestra, and the one dude was handsome as shit, which I couldn't get past. Like, he was like way too handsome to be in the orchestra. And then like, I just found the whole time through the orchestra, I was looking at everyone's looks, and I was like, and that girl's hot too, like shit. And it was like, I was explaining to him, like, I'm not gay or anything, but it's like, you can tell when someone's handsome or when someone's beautiful. It's like, throughout the whole thing, it felt like every instrument everyone was playing was how they also looked in a way. Like, the old cello people were, you know, they were older. It seemed like they were more strict. And, like, the one dude that was in the cello group was, like, you know, like, ponytail and, like, really old and was, like, playing the thing, like, like that. And it was, like, they all looked how, like, their instrument. And I believe, like, the music is their form of release or imagery of showing their inner light of who they are. You know, it's the same thing when people dress, or same people think when people, whatever someone wears or decides to, you know, look. That's, you're expressing your image through that. That's who you are in a way. And you're expressing your image as a guy because that's how you feel that you are. Whether you want to dress in pants or tank top, whatever you want to wear. If you feel that's how you are and that's how you want to express yourself, there's nobody that should tell you or nobody that should force you to act any different than that.
Yeah, when I get singing, I get extremely emotional, so that song becomes a part of me at that point.
And people aren't focused on on your looks, they're focused on the song.
I've had people ask me, dude, are you okay? Because I'll get really emotional. It's like, yeah, I had a rough day, but that song kind of meant something to me, but it let it out. And then I feel like I can breathe again. Because holding it in isn't good for you, and it's not going to work.
I mean, I've got made fun of for crying during Titanic.
Yeah. So. I cry at the end of the movie.
Like, that gets me every time. Like, there are some movies, like, where you're in a certain mood or mindset where you're like, you know, it's all good, and then you actually get connected into the movie. It's the same thing. Like, I've caught myself reading a story or an article about someone's life, like Kevin Hines, a dude that jumped off the bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, and lived, and just hearing his suicidal thoughts and stuff, talking about how, like, you know, he was on a bus, and if someone would just ask him, like, hey, how are you? You know, is something okay? Like, you know, he's crying on a bus, no one's asking him and just ignoring him. It's like, damn, like, if someone would have just took the time to talk to him about that. Did you see that through my podcast, or did you hear that through, or did you actually see the story?
I saw the actual...
You saw the story?
Yeah, I saw the story.
Because I talked about before where, like, it's hard to, you know, like, it's hard to not hear that and know that you've been at a place like that before and been like, damn, that is true. If someone would have just taken the time out of their day to say hi to me, it might have stopped me from hurting myself or doing something. Yeah. And that's why we gotta learn to be better as a society. I don't think I cry for the guy. I mean, I obviously weep for him, but it's like, at the same time, I don't want to seem like, you know, everyone's so afraid to be so sensitive because we're afraid. You know, we're too sensitive when it comes to those ridiculous notions, but the emotional side comes out where the tears and the fear. It's like, you know, there are certain things that you need to be emotional about, but we look at it like we need to hide it because society's going to think of us as pussies in a way. Yeah. And, you know, I if we become more open to things like transgenderness, gayness, straightness, all these different types of things, and also calling when there is bullshit on some things, whether someone's being over dramatic or just seeking attention, because there is that. Sadly, people do reject to that notion. I'm false. I'm accused of doing it as well when it comes to, you know, when I stub my toe and it hurts more I try and make a scene like, like do that type of thing. We all did that when we were kids too.
Look, that shit really hurts though.
Yeah, sometimes it does fucking hurt.
Yeah.
I dropped a 45-pound plate on my toe the other night, and my freaking whole toe right here is swollen and purple. See how there's a bump?
Yeah, oh god.
Yeah, it's all purple, like the toenail's black. I'm like, but I'm not complaining about it, I'm just ignoring it because I think of like, if I tell someone, my foot's hurt, and they're like, why are you at the gym? I'm like, because I can't miss a day. And then you have to explain that to them, and it's like, oh my god, it's like, it becomes a whole mess. But, if we can understand when things are bullshit and when someone's actually being serious and like understanding that this is who they are and we can't reject them from that notion of who they are, then society's going to be a better place. We're all living together in this world. We all need to learn to conform and confide into each other, and we all need to be open and more respectable of others, because if we're so closed off, then we're just creating a worse and worse world for the generations that are coming up, and that's not something we want to inspire. No. We do focus on stuff like environmental stuff we do need to pay attention to, but at the same time we need to focus on how we are as a society, because before we can change the world, we have to change ourselves. Yeah,
you're no good to nobody if you're not physically here to do it. That's like the big motto I believe in. So if you learn how to love yourself and work on it, you can help everyone else too. So be that inspiration for someone.
Be the change that you want to see in the world. Was that Gandhi that said that?
I think so, yeah.
Yes. All right, cool. I'm quoting Gandhi and I got it right. My sources are correct. Well, Dakota, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on this podcast and taking the time to explain this thing to me that I was not 100% clear on and did not understand. You opened my light to things, and you also probably influenced a couple people out there to look up a little bit more research and think of it in a whole different way. Because before, I'm not going to lie, thinking about it, before I even knew you or talked to you, I was thinking, like, that's ridiculous. Like, but understanding, like, doing my own little research and understanding a little bit more made me more of aware of the situations and things about that, and understanding the same scenario I can relate to with focusing on the gym so much and that aspect of how people think of me. We're all in that kind of mindset of how people look at us, and it's good to see like I can make a relatable experience to you in that way, because we're all boiled down to the same thing. We're all just bags of blood, so it's like we're all living on this world together. Let's
make it enjoyable while you can.
Make it enjoyable. Well, like I said, thanks again for being on the podcast, and hopefully have you on again soon.
Yeah, thanks.